Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Youthman. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my final review of the SVS Prime Wireless speaker system. But before we get into the video, if you're into home theater, audio, and video, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified when the next video drops. So over the past few months, I've had the Prime Wireless system, and I've used it in a couple of different applications. I've used it here in the theater room. I've taken it into my living room setup, and I've also taken it to my work to try it out in different rooms as well as just kind of different environments. So in this video, I want to share with you the good as well as the bad with the Prime Wireless. So let's just jump right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is the style. I really like the look and the style of the Prime Wireless. It's got a beautiful piano black gloss finish on it. Now, of course, the piano black are dust magnets and fingerprint magnets, so my advice is to set them up, figure out where you want them, clean them off really nice, and then don't touch them. But man, when you polish them up, they look gorgeous. I've always kind of been fond of the piano black finish on speakers. It's got a super sleek look to it, especially with the angles. It allows it to have some style and design to it instead of just a straight box or rectangular type shape. The front face is super clean, and I really like just leaving the speaker grills off. I enjoy looking at speakers as much as hearing speakers. And so my advice, man, unless you got kids around, I'd leave them off and just let them shine, man. They look great. The second thing is the size. Now these are kind of small and compact, and so what's great about that is it allows you to put them just about anywhere. I could see somebody using these for maybe to upgrade the sound in your TV. Hook a simple stereo up to it with a Blu-ray player, and man, you have taken your sound up tremendously from the sound that you would get just in a standard LCD or an OLED display. I could see somebody putting these, say, in the kitchen. You just want some great sound. Maybe you're the type of family that, man, you spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Maybe the wife likes to cook, or you like to cook, and you just want to have some great music playing while you're have family and friends over, or while you're entertaining guests in the kitchen. Man, I think these are a great setup because they don't take up a lot of real estate on your countertop. And another great application I can see for the Prime Wireless is for your office. Now, I have these set up at my work, and man, they provide some great sound. You know, of course, at work, I can't just blast it like I do here in my theater room or in my living room, but they just provided a sweet sound, which I'll get to in just a minute. We'll talk more about how they sound in particular. When the Prime Wireless were first introduced, they came out in a piano black finish, but I was just looking on their website today, and I noticed that they've got a new finish, and this actually looks pretty cool. They're white gloss. Check these out, guys. These look really sweet. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more modern, something that isn't just your traditional black speakers, man, these look really cool. Have a beautiful look to them. Another great thing that I love about these is the connectivity. Man, you can hook this up with, say for instance, a standard RCA jack. And so a couple of ways that I tested this out, I connected it to my Alexa. I knew she'd hear me. I connected it from that and was able to use Spotify and use the DTS Play-Fi app to be able to tell her to play a certain song.
I don't know that one.
That's fine. I didn't ask you to play a song, silly. But I would ask her to play a certain song, and she would send that information to the Prime Wireless through just a standard RCA cable with a headphone jack on the other end. And so that made it really convenient. I was able to connect it to my Pioneer UDP LX500 Blu-ray player and UHD player. I was able to play some different CDs through it and go straight into the Prime Wireless. As I mentioned, I was able to connect with DTS Play-Fi. You can connect Bluetooth, you can connect Wi-Fi, a lot of different ways that you can connect with this. It's super convenient and has great flexibility in regards to that. So the big question is, how do these things sound? I mean, they've got a 1-inch tweeter, they've got like a 4-inch driver. I mean, can they really produce that much sound with a 4-inch driver? Honestly, they can. These guys got extremely loud. They had a great presence to them. Now what I found is I actually like to have them, I'm looking at them now, they're probably about 6 foot wide, maybe 6.5 feet separated. To me, that gave me the best sound from this position, and really looking at it, it's probably because it makes an equilateral triangle. There's about the same distance apart as there is from the speakers to my seated position here. And that just sounded beautiful. And I even found that I really didn't have to tow them in. They actually produce some great imaging in and of themselves without having to have much what we call tow in, which is where you take the speakers and kind of aim them towards your listening position. So they've got a great amount of dispersion in the tweeter, and they just sounded really, really great. Now, a couple of songs that I was really impressed with were songs like Hey Now by London Grammar. Vocals for females sounded really, really beautiful. Even songs like Angel, and her voice is just so rich. It's just got a nice texture to it, and the SVS Prime Wireless really pull out the detail in that. But one thing that I did realize in that song, and that's kind of one of the negatives, is they don't produce a lot of deep bass, okay? They produce a good amount of bass, especially for a 4-inch driver, but the deep bass, you definitely don't have the capacity of reproducing that. And so in that song, there's like these 3 main notes, and it goes from here to here and to here. And so you hear it on the first one, you hear it on the second one, it's pretty soft. But then the third note is kind of like non-existent, at least in my room. Now maybe if these were corner loaded, you might be able to get a little bit more bottom end out of them, but I just didn't hear those notes. And so that's definitely where you would want to, if you want to produce those lower frequencies, you're definitely going to need to add a subwoofer to kind of handle those. But some other great songs, man. Liberty by Anette, Askvik. Now I heard this song recently at the Florida Audio Expo, and I've got a video of that. If you want to check that out, I'll link it to it right up here in the card above. That was a really, really cool song, and as I was going around listening to these different demo rooms, I would pull out like Shazam, which is an app on your phone that you can just hit a button and it'll listen for the music that it hears, and then it'll tell you what the song was. And so I was able to hear these different songs. I'm like, man, I like that. I want to use that one day and be able to use that in some 2-channel testing and hear what it sounds like. And so I was able to find the name of that song, but it's really cool. It's called Liberty by Anette Askvik. And so check this song out sometime, because at about 3 minutes, I think it's 3 minutes and 40 seconds, there's this saxophone that comes in. It comes in earlier in the song, but at about 3:40, man, that saxophone, when it begins to play, you just begin to hear the breathiness of it, and you begin to hear just that rich tone and that of the saxophone, man. They produce that incredibly well. I mean, I could just kick back in my new theater seats and just listen to that. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And so if you haven't checked out that song, I'll post a link to some of these songs down in the description so you can check those out. They're really, really great for 2-channel setups and for just testing on your home theater system. Of course, the electric guitar and 10-pin alley, man, that was just like, boom, 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 boom. Oh man, it was good. Just the detail in that electric guitar, man, it was just kind of like this thick and boom, 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 boom. And so another great thing about the Prime Wireless is, well, it started off not so great. So they started off at like $5.99. That's the MSRP. But right now I notice on Amazon you can pick them up for $4.50. Now that's a sweet deal for what you're getting in this setup. Not only are you getting this beautiful set of speakers, but the connectivity, you've got the small compact size with this huge sound. Now the Prime Wireless have no problem getting loud and maintaining just the integrity of the drivers and not sounding bloated and definitely not sounding like distorted, unless you get up like to the wide open, maxed out. As long as you bump it down just a little bit, they sound super, super clean. And I really believe a lot of that is attributed to the fact that each speaker pretty much has a 100-watt amplifier. So you got 50 watts going to each tweeter and 50 watts going to each woofer. And so that gives some really, really clean sound for this small compact setup. So during my time with the SVS Prime Wireless, I only found two things that I would really consider as maybe negatives. The first thing is a lack of a remote control. I know you're saying, Michael, man, you're just lazy. Well, maybe I am, but it would have been cool, definitely, even just having a small remote, maybe even something the size of this battery, just has some really, really basic functions like just up and down volume and maybe changing you know, from auxiliary over to Bluetooth. So I just think that that would have been a really great feature. So hopefully maybe SVS will be able to incorporate that into a future rendition of the SVS Prime Wireless. And the second negative really is to be expected, because it only has a 4.5-inch driver, is a lack of deep bass. Now, it doesn't mean that these don't have bass. They actually produce a good amount of bass. Like I said, especially in that mid bass kind of frequencies, they produce that very, very well. But I just noticed on certain songs, like I said, on Angel by Sarah McLauchlin, when it hits that low note, it just kind of says whoop, and there's just no information there. There's none of that really low bottom end. But the great thing about this particular system is SVS included a sub out. And so, man, I can't wait to actually hook up, well, I'll save that for another video. I've got one of their subwoofers, actually two of their subwoofers in for review. And so maybe this weekend I can have some seat time with that, hook it up to it, and I'd really love to hear how do these sound paired with a subwoofer. So look for that video coming soon. So as far as price, the SVS Prime Wireless retails for $599, and honestly that's not a bad price for the sound that you get, for the size that you get, as well as the features in it. So I'll post a link to them down in the description below if you're interested in picking up a set. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up my thoughts and my review on the SVS Prime Wireless. Overall, I think these are a fantastic pair of speakers, especially somebody that doesn't have, number one, a huge budget, or maybe you just don't have a lot of floor space to put some floor standing speakers. You can set these up in a little 2-channel setup or maybe a 2.1 channel setup and have a killer sounding system for not a whole lot of money. Now, if you're interested in the specs and like kind of an overview of the speakers themselves and what they offer, all the connectivity on the back of it, as well as how to connect it to DTS Play-Fi, I made a very lengthy overview and setup video initially when I first got them in for review. And so I'll post a link to that right up here in the card above, as well as in the description below. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Well guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, man, thanks so much for stopping by. Be sure to subscribe because I produce weekly content on home theater as well as audio and video. And as always, you guys be blessed, and we'll catch you in the next video.